Hello everyone, I am Sandrick Dakles. For today's session, we are going to talk about the elements of literature and painting. This is an additional topic that tackled of Miss Damasco regarding literature and painting. The first is, what is literature? Yes, literature, it is a body of written work. The name has been applied to those imaginative work of poetry, drama, fiction, non-fiction in some instances, journalism and song, distinguished by the intention of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. Poetry. Poetry, it is a type of literature or artistic writing that attempts or to steer a reader's imagination or emotions. It is also a way of expressing impressions or emotions and events that is highly compressed and in which every word counts. Example of poetry: Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, it was based on the real life of two lovers. Drama. Drama, it is the specific mode of fiction presented in performance, a play, opera, ballet, etc. It is also performed in theater or radio or television. The term drama comes from a Greek word which action, derived from aido. Drama, it is also a story or situation which usually literary composition that tells a story of diagram and action to be performed by action. Example of drama: Aba Kada Ina, cast of Lorna Tolentino and his family. Lorna Tolentino is an educated mother, clashes with her maiden mother-in-law. Aba Kada Ina is a 21 drama movie directed by Eddie Garcia and written by Shaira Melia Salvador. Fiction, it is based on imaginary. Haka-haka, walang katotohanan. Example of fiction: the movie of Twilight, The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, etc. Those are an example of fiction. Non-fiction, it is based on the real events. Example: Titanic. Jack and Rose, the main characters in the 1997 movie Titanic, weren't real like a films based on a true story. Journalism. Journalism, it is the activity of gathering, assessing, creating, and presenting news and information. Example of journalism: the broadcast journalist, the Maguindanao journalist. Their roles is to, foremost, it serves to inform the public. Next is song. Song, it is a musical composition intended to be performed by the human voice. We have a lot of song, the pop music, rap, love song, etc. Example of song: Ugoy ng Duyan by Lucio San Pedro, Bayan Ko, Bahay Kobo. Those are an example of iconic Filipino song. What is painting? Yes, painting, it is the expression of ideas and emotions with the creation of certain aesthetic qualities in a two-dimensional visual language. Painting also, it is a sharpness of mind through conceptual visualization and implementation plus both memory skills. Now, let's come to the elements of literature. Number 1, plot. Plot, it is conflict presented in a structured format. It's also a series of events that form the story. Okay, now, what you can see now on the screen, it is an example of plot line. So again, what is plot? Plot is the structure of an organization of events that make up a functional story. So let's begin to exposition. Exposition, it is the beginning of the story where the characters and setting are introduced. Next is rising action. Rising action, where the main characters faces a series of conflicts. Next is climax. Climax, it is the most exciting part of the story. Next is falling action. Falling action, it is the events leading to the end of the story or action and events that occur after the climax. The last one is resolution. Resolution, it is the end of the story. Number 2 is characterization. Characterization, it is the way a writer makes a person in a story, book, play, movie, or television show seem like a real person. Protagonist, it is the main character of the story. Siya yung bida ng kwento. While antagonist, it is the character or force that oppose the protagonist. Siya naman yung kontrabida ng kwento. For example, the movie that entitled Encantadia. Amihan is an example of protagonist, while Hagorn is an example of antagonist. Number 3 is point of view. Point of view tells us who is telling the story. First person. The story is told by one of the character in the story. The narrator will refer to them as I. For the second person, the narrator will talk to the reader as if they are having a conversation. The narrator will refer to the readers as you. For the third person, the story is told by the narrator who is not a character in the story. The narrator will refer to the characters by name or with the words he, she, they. Third person can be either be a limited or omniscient. Limited, the narrator knows only the thoughts and feelings of the one person, while omniscient, the narrator knows the thoughts and feelings of all the characters. Number 4, conflict. Conflict, it is a problem or a struggle in the story. We have 4 types of conflict. The man versus self, man versus nature, man versus society, man versus man. Man versus self, it is the main character has a inner conflict, while man versus nature, some force of nature is causing problems for the main character. Man versus society, the main character has a problem with a larger group, community, or culture. Man versus man, the man character has a problem with another character. Number 5 and 6, it is the tone and mood. Tone versus mood. So tone, it is the attitude of the author towards a subject. Tone also, it is mainly created by diction and detail. While mood is the atmosphere or the emotional setting created by a piece of literary work, and it is also created by setting, imaginary, and diction. Number 7, symbolism. Symbolism, it is a person, place, or subject which has a meaning in itself but suggests other meaning as well. Symbolism can take place by having the theme of a story represented of this might be the occurrence of a storm at a critical point with there is conflict or high emotion. Example, a river in a scene could represent the flow of life. Another example, flowers can symbolize youth or beauty. Another example, transition from day to night could symbolize goodness to evil or hope to despair. Number 8 is theme. Theme, it is the main idea or underlying meaning of a literary work. It's all about the type of story. Amid most movies or a simple short story as a hidden theme, a life lesson that must be inferred from the ending. Example, Listen to your parents so you don't get lost. Another example, with great power comes great responsibility. Number 9, imagery. Imagery, the language that appeals to the senses. Example, from the sense of sight, the bloody corpse emerged slowly from the muddy, molded grave. From the sense of touch, slowly she cares the baby's silky smooth cheek. From the sense of smell, every time she eats pizza, the garlic emanates from her pores for days. From the sense of taste, he frowned as the putrid taste of brush sprouts registered on his tongue. From the sense of hearing, the crackling of the popping of the logs filled the silence. This imagery is the last elements of literature.